Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. And with the patch 10.26, we got a brand new limited time event called Plunderstorm, a battle royale-like experience, but inside of World of Warcraft, where players are tossed into a Arathi basin to fend off for themselves, fighting off against elites, slaying enemy pirates and other combatants, picking up various abilities to shape their character to create a variety of different builds set up for combat, whether you're trying to get PvE or PvP objectives out of the way. And as you slay enemy foes and other players, you also get reputation towards a brand new Renown system that grants you a variety of different cosmetics, from things like mounts as well as pets, as well as other collectibles like transmog armor as well as weapons, but also surprisingly some catch-up bonuses that can be utilized on your ults as well to catch up a couple of your characters for the patch 10.26. In today's video, I wanted to do an entire full guide and an overview of this brand new event, by going over this new format, some of the different combat changes, some of the spells and abilities you'll encounter while inside of the Plunderstorm, as well as some of the best strategies that I've picked up so far, whether you're trying to PvP and be the last one standing at the end of the match, or you want to focus on the PvE side of the content, avoiding other players while maximizing all of your Renown gains. But right before we get into this Plunderstorm event video, most of you guys watching these kind of updates are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you want to get more regular content regarding Dragonflight 10.25 or any future updates for patches like 10.26 or the War Within Alpha. So first of all, what is this Plunderstorm Battle Royale event? The Plunderstorm is WoW's take for an action-based mode within WoW's engine that mixes in a bit of PvE as well as a bit of PvP content. It's also available for all players with an active WoW subscription, even if you don't have Dragonflight, like if you prefer Classic WoW and you primarily play Season of Discovery or Wrath Classic. Plunderstorm can be queued either as a solo player against other solo players or as a duo with a buddy against other teams of players. Plunderstorm offers plenty of rewards for you to collect from a brand new Renown track. There's currently 40 ranks with a variety of different rewards from mounts, cosmetics, pets, as well as other items that you can work towards by completing Plunderstorm objectives, defeating elites, looting treasures, or even slaying other players to help increase your Renown ranks. When it comes to the PvP side of things, it's a very casual, friendly experience where a player does not need to learn the complexity of WoW PvP in order to win or participate in this new event. First things first, each player will start with a character creation as you need to make a brand new character for this event specifically. And the first thing you'll notice is you're free to make any character utilizing any race option available because racials don't play a part in this new game mode. Once you queue for a game, you'll be placed into a separate lobby that you can walk around and explore, which is going to be a small pirate fortification located off of the shore of Arathi Highlands. There you can check in with your quartermaster to check your current Renown progression, though you can also find that same NPC in Veldraken. Outside of that, you're free to explore the lobby as much as you want to until a brand new game begins. While there, you may also want to go to the training grounds in order to test some of these abilities against other players to get yourself warmed up before a match. And once the match begins, like in a normal BR experience, players will drop in from the sky down into Arathi to do objectives, earn treasure, as well as to fight other players. Over time, as the match progresses, the storm will start closing in around the zone, forcing players closer and closer together until they have to fight each other over a small bit of area. And the last one standing wins the entire match. However, even if you don't win, you still keep all of your reputation for the Renown. In fact, you earn a large majority of the new reputation just during the very first few minutes of a match, primarily through PvE combat. So just because you don't win doesn't necessarily mean that you lose also. The combat in this new game mode is quite different compared to the original Warcraft experience. First of all, your basic auto attack is replaced now with a melee combat ability that cycles between a saber slash, a kick, and a pistol shot, all of which do some damage in a frontal cone of the player. Each player will also have access to a healing ability, which does need to be channeled to top off your health bar. However, taking damage while you're healing yourself will break the channel, so you want to use this when you're safe. While inside of a Plunderstorm match, players can slay elites as well as plunder treasures and find a variety of abilities to equip on their character. Some of these abilities are going to increase your offensive power, others may increase your utility or defensives, and others will be consumables that are one-time use. Some of the offensive skills include things like a fire whirl, which allows your character to spin up into a fiery tornado, dealing lots of AoE damage while moving around quickly. The ability of Rime Arrow is a ranged frostbolt ability that doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's great at poking edgy targets from a distance without necessarily having to aim the ability. Storm Archon is an elemental frontal 3-part combo attack that has some travel time but moves in a straight line from where the player is facing. Earthbreaker is an ability that does AoE damage and will stun all enemies inside of the circle of your cast. Holy Shield allows you to toss a shield out forward, and the shield will return back to you, dealing damage to enemies on the way out and on the way in. You can press the shield button again while it's mid-flight in order to trigger a holy explosion around the shield's location. Manosphere is an empowerment ability similar to Evoker empowerment spells. It allows you to conjure an arcane orb to shoot out in front of you, knocking enemies back while dealing some damage. While empowering this ability, you increase its damage as well as its knockback effectiveness. The ability of Searing Axe is just a massive molten axe strike in front of the player that just does a ton of damage but has a bit of a delay to it. Slice and Winds is also another empowerment ability that allows the player to rush forwards in front of them, charging right through enemies doing damage. The longer you charge, the further you go and the more damage you will do during your charge. Star Bomb is an ability that has quite a long cast time but triggers a massive explosion to all enemies within its orbit. Also, it'll pull enemies towards the center. This ability is fantastic against PvE enemies but not as good or as easy to land against PvP players. Finally, Toxic Smackerel allows a player to smack a target in front of you with a fish. If you land the hit, you put a damage over time effect on the enemy target. Besides offensive powers, players can also wield up to 2 utility spells, which usually either increase your mobility or defense, starting with Explosive Caltrops, which knocks the player character back while placing caltrops on your last location for a swift retreat. Fade to Shadows is an ability that allows a player to leap forwards into stealth, fading from sight for a short time, which is great for escaping your targets or for chasing after enemies. Fey Form is an ability that transforms the player into a Fey creature, gaining an immunity to most harmful effects while increasing movement speed. However, you cannot attack other players while transformed into a Fey form. Hunter's Chains is an ability that chains you to the target. If the enemy tries to leave the range of the chain, then they're pulled back to you, or you can press the ability again to pull yourself towards the enemy target. Lightning Bulwark is a massive shield that you raise up in the air to deflect damage for a short amount of time. While the shield is raised, receiving an attack grants you bonus movement speed, removes harmful enemy debuffs, and harms all enemies near the caster. Quaking Leap is a 2-part ability that causes you to leap forwards and then crash down after a bit of time. You can press the ability a second time while midair to crash down a little bit early. Repel is a defensive barrier which repels all damage and harmful effects for a short amount of time. Afterwards, you silence all foes around the caster at the end of the ability channel. Snowdrift allows the player to conjure a blizzard around the character that does a little bit of damage but also slows down enemy foes around you. With the ability of Steel Trap, the player tosses a cluster of traps around you. Enemies walking over the traps will take some damage and are rooted for a short amount of time. Windstorm is a frontal attack which doesn't deal damage but will stun the first target that it strikes. All of these skills will be discussed. The offensives, the defensives, and the utility ones also come with a variety of rarities. Picking up a skill you already have equipped upgrades the rarity of your current active skill. Essentially, the higher the rarity of the skill, the better its effectiveness or the debuff as well as the buff durations. Then we have items and consumables which are a one-time use. The very first item you spawn in every match will be a barrel that allows the player to jump in a barrel and roll forwards, which is great for movement. If you strike an enemy while inside of a barrel, you'll knock them back if you run over them. The barrel is fantastic for mobility and can be a clutch escape if you're ever stuck in a rough situation. Besides the barrel, there's a ton of other items like a bottle time, which creates a zone that speeds up all player cooldowns. Chicken Coop, which tosses a crate of angry chickens that attacks all near them. Gravity launcher pads can launch players way high in the air to escape their aggressors. Keg Legs Cannonade bombards the player location with a bunch of cannonballs in a very sporadic fashion. Mechanahog is a bike that you can place that's a 2-seater bike that allows the player as well as their ally to move around very quickly and can even turn the bike into a self-destruct mechanism to do big AoE damage. You got Parrot Snacks that can cause parrots to follow you around, slowing enemies nearby. Smoke Bomb in order to create an area of stealth, a Stormproof Sloop, which is a boat that you can hold over your head to reduce some damage taken, a Strange Snowman that creates a patch of ice on the ground, slowing enemies nearby, as well as the funniest one, the Ambush, which allows the player to become a bush. Your health bar is no longer visible to other players, you're just a bush to blend in. It's actually a pretty convincing disguise as long as you're not moving around, because if players see a moving bush, they'll know that you are a player. but if a player does come close to you while you are in a bush, you can use Bushwhack in order to stun them to get the spring on the enemy target. Lastly, I want to go over some of the strategies that I've used so far in order to either win matches for PvP or to maximize your farming of reputation as a PvE player. Some players enjoy the PvP aspect of World of Warcraft and others don't, so I wanted to recommend a couple of different strategies depending on which part of the game you're more interested in. For those of you that are more PvP inclined, my first recommendation off the bat is to play around the edges of the map. They are a lot safer. This allows you to utilize the storm as it closes in as like a wall to make sure that no enemy is sneaking up behind you, thus limiting the areas of approach that another player may have. As a PvP player, you'll still want to level up as soon as possible. Your first objective shouldn't be to focus on slaying as many players as you can off the bat. Do some PvE objectives and slay a couple of elites in order to level up, because leveling up not only increases your base damage but also your stamina and overall makes you a little bit more formidable against lower level players. Lastly, you really should start utilizing double jump while inside of this mode. Normally, only demon hunters have access to double jump, but for this mode specifically, all players have access to double jump, which allows most players to reach higher ground in a variety of different locations, which can be useful to gain an advantage. Having a high ground means that only certain abilities can strike you while you're above the enemy player and allows you to almost ambush them from the top. And using high ground to create some space away from the target can give you some breathing room to either heal up or to let your cooldowns recover before you're ready to jump in and hopefully claim your victory. Otherwise, you should try to avoid fighting multiple players at the same time unless you feel like you actually have a chance of winning or you have some kind of an advantage like a health advantage or a level advantage against other players. Now, for those of you that are more PvE inclined and want to avoid all PvP combat, you can actually gain a huge amount of reputation from this event just for doing PvE objectives without ever encountering other players. For PvE players, my advice is going to be very similar. You should also try to spawn towards the edges of the map because that's usually where all of the elites are going to be. And whenever you initially land at the very beginning of the match, you'll deal damage to all enemies around you, enough to slay most elites, which allows you to pick up a power as quickly as possible and start slaying elites and other mobs and loot them as quickly as you can in order to gain both gold as well as powers. And the first thing you should do as a PvE player is finish up your main quest, which you'll find to the right hand side of the screen as soon as possible. It's also a good idea to go to some of the more populated areas where there's going to be a lot of other NPCs around. Then you have a couple of options. Southern side of the map has a bunch of ogres that you can slay. They provide you a ton of reputation and are fairly easy to take down. Bottom right of the map will have a troll village that has a ton of NPCs and elites for you to slay. You can also go to any of the horde outposts towards the top right of the map or towards the northern part of the map. Also towards the bottom left of the map, you got a massive amount of alliance or human NPCs and elites for you to slay. Every time I've gone there, I haven't seen any other player go in that direction whatsoever. As long as you go towards the offshoot area of Stormguard, not the main central area of it, where a lot of players hang out in. Your plan is to land, get as many powers as possible, slay as many elites as you can, and then try to finish up your main quest objective. Otherwise, you can roam the map for as much as possible, killing as many NPCs as you can, looting as much gold, until you encounter another player. And if you lose at that encounter, then you can go back into the queue to do this all over again. Or if you start towards the edge of the map, that's usually where the storm will spawn, so you can run into the storm directly after you're done clearing an entire camp of enemy NPCs. Doing so is actually a very efficient way of farming up reputation while trying to avoid other players as much as possible, and some players have actually started adapting this strategy just to get through all of the renown levels as quickly as they can. By no means are these the universal best strategies for this event, but these are the strategies that I found the most useful for me for my time spent inside of the Plunderstorm. And for now, that's going to be my entire guide for the Plunderstorm event, going over all of the in-game activities, the rewards, how to farm them efficiently, and how to win matches if that's what you're looking to do. I want to thank all of you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Specifically, I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on what do you think about this Plunderstorm event. Are you currently enjoying the event or not so much? And if you are playing, are you focusing on the PvP side of the things or the PvE aspects, just trying to farm up your renown as quickly as possible? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.